Hello, this is a Bluthner style 9-gram piano that's 6'11" long, and we just finished French polishing it. I have a video of this before it was French polished, and the grain was completely covered over. You couldn't see the rosewood grain underneath. And this piano, dating 1898, Bluthner's favourite veneer was rosewood, and we're very grateful when we managed to find one of them to repolish. Just have a look at the grain first. And this video, I'm going to look at the technical side too, because the other video is mostly about how the grain was covered up. So let's have a look at all the different parts of the casework. So here's the top of the fall. You can see rosewood has particularly contrasting grain. We like to. This is actually a natural polish, and we've tried to bring out the best in the rosewood contrast. So I hope this video will show it up as it should do, because live this does look very, very incredibly fine grain indeed. This is a music stand. That's always the hardest to repolish, because it's in so many little bits to get right. But that also matches the whole piano very well. Now the legs are never rosewood. They always tend to be darker than the rest of the piano, and originally they're often very much darker. We try to match them in as well as we can. But let's look at the side here, and you can see again the rosewood right the way round as the join line there, which you always get on Bluthner grand pianos. You can see that generally the grain is very figured. So looking at the top of the piano, the rim is done in black, and that's commonly done in Bluthner and Bechstein Steinway too. So here we have a looking at the top, and I hope the colour is going to come out well on this video. This is always the problem with colour, isn't it, when you do take a video. I'll also take it with the lights shining above it so we can see the difference. But I think you'll agree the contrast is quite staggering, really. And there's the long side of the piano. So all the colours match in beautifully. If you do buy this piano or do have a wood-coloured piano, it's really important to make sure the lid is not always closed. I'll show you what I mean. That you end up with a fade line very often here if the lid's always open. So very often when the piano's in use, it's kept open like this, and when you lift this up, you find that there's a fade line. I've shown that on other videos of other pianos before. So if it's kept closed sometimes, open sometimes, and if it is in a light environment, it doesn't necessarily have to be a sunny environment, just a light environment will cause it to fade, and it will fade evenly then. Faded rosewood is very common. It's a very beautiful colour as well. You see we've left the contrast at the back here, as we've shown on other ones that we've done as well, just because it's so interesting, really. I've turned the lights on now. We had skylights before, and skylights are still showing. It's quite a light room, this one, and we've got the strip lights working as well now. But just to give some idea of the colour, again, slightly different lights, it gives it a slightly different look. Now it's got perfect original ivories. None of them have come off and been stuck back on. You see a strong line when they have. You see a slight line now, because all ivories are two-piece here, except for a few made in the 70s and 80s. You get one-piece ivory, but of course after that it don't get ivory anymore. But you do get sometimes mammoth tusk or bone, not quite the same as ivory. Now technically the piano is perfect. It's been fully restored by Bluthner. They put a new rest plank, a very, very good quality rest plank. It's a combination between laminate and it looks a bit between what we call Baldock or Delignate, the two makes of rest plank. It's a combination of the two makes that we use today. So it's a very, very fine one indeed. This is as you can see, they've replaced it. Bluthner themselves have done it, so obviously it's done to a very high standard, very tight tuning pins as well. So technically perfect. Now it's got the original Bluthner patent action, as over 95% of Bluthner's made up to 1925 have this action in, and it works extremely well. Occasionally it's replaced, but no real need to replace it, except that it doesn't repeat as fast as a modern action, but it feels very smooth to play. So I can recommend that. We've sold plenty of them, and the trade generally knows how to recondition them and restore them, so that's not a problem. Now, listen to the tone. It's typically mellow Bluthner. and very, very soft sounding, this piano. So it's perhaps mellower than most. So beware, if you are going to buy a Bluthner, do be aware that it's a mellow sound. Ideal for a smaller room. If you want a long piano but haven't got a very big room, this would be ideal for you. But it's different from a modern sound, definitely. And Bluthners were very, very popular in this period of time. There's a very, very great fan club, as it were, of Bluthner. Partly the action and also the mellow tone you get on them is very, very beautiful. Perhaps it's a good idea to contrast the tone with another piano. So that's the Bluthner, and we'll contrast that with a restored Bechstein. Here's a restored Bechstein. So it's a much stronger sound and brighter sound. Back to the Bluthner. So they are famous for their wonderful rich bass sound, and the Bechstein has a very wonderful sound too, but it's a much brighter tone. Now Bluthner can be brighter too. Here's one that's we've fully restored, and it's a slightly longer piano actually. It's the Model 10, which is a few centimetres longer. Now that's a brighter tone. So back to the Rosewood one. So looking at the hammers, these are high quality hammers that Bluthner put on. I think they might be Renner hammers, and we'll be fine voicing them. We also, I think the piano hasn't been used for a long time, so we'll be doing some lubrication as well. And we'll generally, once the technical department gets onto this action, we'll probably do quite a lot of extra work to just perfect it. But it's, as you can see, it's hardly been used since it's been done, so that's very encouraging. So that's a Bluthner style 10 grand piano, 6 foot 11 inches long, and we've just finished the repolishing of it. Just a few more technical things to refine on it. Now it's a very mellow tone, so it's important if you buy a Bluthner to know that you're getting a very mellow tone piano. Beautiful touch, and the cabinet is just second to none really. Ideal for romantic music, for Debussy. If you've got a small room and you want a long piano, the tone won't dominate too much. Because it's a very pure tone of typical Bluthner. Thank you very much for listening.